Hello everyone and welcome to another vlog. Today you're going to learn about 13 tips related to autumn landscape photography. It's that time of the year when the leaves and the entire nature is getting really colored, and because of that I think it's a good moment for me to share with you 13 tips, as I said, related to landscape autumn photography. So let's get started with tip number one, and that is blue hour. These days, blue hours tend to be more dramatic than compared to summer, let's say, or spring. And that is because the nights are getting really cold and the morning is still pretty warm. And because of that, in the cold air that is gathering in the valleys, when heated by the warmth of the sun, creates fog in the morning. So that is why you will have this beautiful fog among the trees. So what you need to search for is a forest that has kind of like deep valleys, and also if it has a small spring of water or some sort of water source on the ground. Usually when you want to catch fog in the morning, you should check the dew point, and if the dew point matches the temperature, there are a couple of sites that will tell you this information when you check the weather for a certain location. So when the dew point matches the temperature, then you're going to have fog on that location. So tip number one, it's again related to blue hour, because at that moment during autumn you have a lot more chances to capture the fog. Now let's move to tip number two, which is the same place. If you see the fog, now you're gonna want to have that fog lit by the sunrise. Now you have to position in such a way that the fog is between you and the sun, and this way you're going to see the entire beauty of the fog. The sun is going to light up the fog, and you're also going to see the shadows of the trees projected on the fog. So I think these moments are really great, and when it's autumn you have a lot more chances to capture these types of landscapes. Now let's move to tip number three: put things in perspective. So when you're traveling as a landscape photographer, you see really beautiful locations, like for example this photo where I'm at the entrance of a really awesome and huge cave. But without me in the scenery, you would not get the true proportion of the place. Now the thing is this: when it's autumn, everything gets yellow, dark red or brown. So try to stand out, try to wear a green jacket. That's the first moment when a green jacket will make you stand out when it's autumn. So put things in perspective with your silhouette over there, but wear some clothes that will allow people to see you in those photos. Tip number four, it's the morning fog on the lake. Again, the surface of the lake gets really cold during the night, and the warmth of the sun will heat up the surface of the water, and you have a lot more chances to capture the fog. Now, this kind of thing will happen in the early days of autumn, because as autumn advances, the morning gets colder and colder, and when the morning is really cold, you're not going to get fog. So the first moments when you start to get those beautiful colors in the trees, search for a lake, go there really early in the morning, because you have a lot more chances to capture the fog rising from the surface of the water. Tip number five is related again to the same place in a way, and we are talking here about reflections. So after the sun is rising and the fog clears, because the trees have those beautiful colors that autumn is really famous for, you get a chance to photograph some really stunning and really beautiful reflections. So keep that in mind, reflections on the lake. And now follows tip number six, and you can focus on symmetry. Now, if the surface of the lake is clear, if there is no wind on the lake at that moment, try to capture symmetries. Symmetries are really, really wonderful. It kind of messes up with your brain. I think because of that, they look really interesting. They are fun to watch. You can also rotate them 90 degrees, or rotate them or flip them 180 degrees, flip them vertically, and because of that, you will have a strange feeling that you don't know what you're looking. So capturing symmetries, it's really great. It looks much better than doing this in the summer because the water is kind of green, the vegetation is kind of green. Things don't stand out. But during autumn, the colors of autumn make the trees really pop. Tip number 7, of course, my favorite, foggy forests. This is the moment when capturing fog in the forest, it's really incredible. The forest becomes another place. It's completely different from a summer forest and then a simple forest with no fog. Having fog in the forest adds mystery, separates the trees. It adds a lot more to the atmosphere. So whenever you have fog in the forest, just go ahead, enter the forest and take some photos. Now, tip number 8, if you are there in the forest, when the fog starts to clear, you're going to start to see rays of light through the trees. That's the tip number 8. So look for the moment when the fog clears from the forest and you will get those beautiful rays of light. Now, in order to see the light, again, you have to have the fog straight between you and the sun. So in a way, you're kind of looking towards the sun, and by moving a little bit to the left or to the right, you will start to see the rays. Tip number 9, fog isolates elements in the forest. It gets rid of the clutter of the forest, of the chaos of the forest. So once you find an interesting tree, isolate it and use the fog as a white background, as a white canvas if you want. And on that canvas, try to include as fewer elements as possible. It will look really interesting. Tip number 10. If you have the chance to capture the sunset in a foggy forest. Now, autumn in the forest looks great. Sunset in a forest during autumn looks much better. But having sunset in an autumn forest and then having fog, and the fog starts to dissipate, then you have the magic formula. And as you can see here in this photo, the light kind of invades the entire frame, and it makes it look like a fairy tale. It's like you're watching something that it's not from this world. So remember that. Tip number 11, foggy morning and over villages. Now, depending on where you are located in the world, you have villages that are more traditional or less traditional. Now, in Romania, we have villages that still look very traditional. Not all the villages are like that, but we have some villages that are famous for that. And being above some of these villages with the fog in the valley, I think creates a really beautiful atmosphere. Again, the fog gets rid of all the clutter, all the other elements that you don't want in your shot, and it helps you separate the subject, and it helps you convey a much interesting idea. Now, tip number 12, we are talking about intentional camera movement, and this looks interesting in any season, but when you are looking at a forest that it has some really beautiful colors, then you get a really beautiful pastel, and it looks great. I mean, I don't have to talk a lot more about this. You get the shape, you have the colors, and you have kind of like a hint what's happening. It looks really great. And tip 13, the last tip. I know I chose 13 tips, but it will be a good luck 13. So tip number 13 is to take close-ups of trees. As I said, the colors are yellow, red, dark red, and brownish. Now frame those trees and isolate them, surround them with pine trees or other trees that don't have the same color, or just use the sky as a background. trying to, basically the idea is to isolate the tree that is being colored by the autumn and to have it in a much more beautiful light. Now, I hope you liked those 13 tips. If you have something else to add, just use the comment section below. Share this video with your friends, and until next time, keep on photographing. It's the only way to get better. Thanks for watching, and bye-bye.